Before we begin, tell us in the comments which city you're watching from. And at the end, don't forget to rate this story from 0 to 10. Enjoy the story. What did you think of the story? Share your opinion in the comments. Rate this story from 0 to 10. What was your score? Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell to follow all our stories and have fun. Dr. Olivia Chen rushed through the gleaming lobby of Boston Memorial Hospital, her white coat fluttering behind her like a cape. She was late. Again. The quarterly budget meeting had started 15 minutes ago, and as the youngest attending physician in the pediatric cardiology department, she couldn't afford another strike against her pristine record. "Hold the elevator," she called, breaking into a jog while balancing a teetering stack of patient files and a half-empty coffee cup. The doors slid shut just as she reached them. Olivia exhaled sharply, blowing a strand of dark hair from her face. The stairs it was then. 6 flights up to the administrative floor in 3-inch heels that she'd optimistically chosen that morning. Perfect. Pushing through the stairwell door, she began her ascent, mentally rehearsing her presentation on department funding needs. Her thoughts drifted to little Max Rodriguez, the 7-year-old with the complex congenital heart defect who needed a specialized procedure not currently covered by the hospital's budget. His smiling face, gap-toothed and hopeful during yesterday's checkup, was her motivation for this meeting. Lost in thought, Olivia didn't notice the small puddle of water on the landing between the 4th and 5th floors. Her left heel slid across the slick surface, and suddenly she was airborne, files scattering like oversized confetti, coffee splashing upward in a brown arc. Time slowed. She had a split second to contemplate how the hardwood stairs would feel against her back, to wonder if she'd break anything important, to realize that today was definitely not her day. But the impact never came. Instead, a pair of strong arms caught her mid-fall, wrapping securely around her waist. The momentum spun them, and Olivia found herself pressed against a broad chest in a navy suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent. She inhaled a subtle scent of sandalwood and mint, her heart hammering from the near miss. "I got you," said a deep voice, steady and calm, as if catching falling doctors was an everyday occurrence. "Are you all right?" Olivia looked up into the most striking pair of eyes she'd ever seen, steel blue with flecks of silver, crinkled slightly at the corners. They belonged to a man roughly her age, maybe in his mid-30s, with dark blonde hair precisely styled and a jawline that could have been carved from marble. "Ah, yes, thank you," she stammered, suddenly aware of how close they were, her hands braced against his chest. She could feel his heart beating, surprisingly fast for someone who appeared so composed. "I'm so sorry, I didn't see the water," he finished, glancing at the puddle. "Maintenance should really be more careful." He made no move to release her, those blue eyes studying her face with an intensity that made her pulse quicken. "I was waiting to catch you, Dr. Chen." Olivia blinked, the oddness of his statement cutting through her embarrassment. "I'm sorry. What did you say?" A smile played at the corners of his mouth, revealing a single dimple in his right cheek. "I said I was waiting to catch you. Figuratively speaking, of course." He released her then, stepping back but keeping a steadying hand on her elbow. "Though I didn't expect it to happen quite so literally." Confusion washed over her. "Do I know you?" "Not yet." He bent down, gathering her scattered files with efficient movements. "But I've been hoping to change that. I'm Ethan Blackwood." The name hit Olivia like a second fall. Ethan Blackwood, the Ethan Blackwood, Boston's wunderkind tech entrepreneur whose healthcare data company had recently acquired the contract to overhaul the hospital's outdated systems. His face had been on the cover of Business Insider last month, named one of the 40 under 40 to watch, and she'd just crashed into him like a human wrecking ball. "Mr. Blackwood, I'm so sorry," she said, kneeling to help collect her papers, wincing at the coffee stains spreading across her patient notes. "I was rushing to the budget meeting and the one in conference room A." He handed her a stack of rescued files, their fingers brushing briefly. "It's been postponed. Pipe burst in the ceiling about 20 minutes ago." That's probably where this water came from. He gestured to the puddle. Olivia felt a surge of relief, followed immediately by suspicion. How do you know my name? Your ID badge, he replied smoothly, pointing to the plastic card clipped to her coat pocket. Also, I make it my business to know the key players at Boston Memorial, especially the ones revolutionizing pediatric cardiac care. She narrowed her eyes. Have you been researching me, Mr. Blackwood? Ethan, please. That dimple appeared again. And yes, I have. Your paper on minimally invasive techniques for ventricular septal defect repairs in infants was brilliant. Your outcomes are 20% better than the national average, with 35% shorter recovery times. Olivia stood, clutching her disheveled files against her chest like a shield. Something about this man made her feel off balance, and it wasn't just the literal fall. Thank you, but that doesn't explain why you were waiting for me in a stairwell. Ethan rose to his full height, nearly a foot taller than her, even in her heels. I wasn't waiting in the stairwell specifically. I was on my way to find you after learning about the meeting cancellation. Your department assistant said you'd left your office, heading this way. He paused, his expression turning more serious. I have a proposition for you, Dr. Chen. One that might help with your funding problem for the Rodriguez case. Olivia's breath caught. How do you know about Max? As I said, I make it my business to know. He glanced at his watch, an understated timepiece that probably cost as much as her student loan debt. I have a car waiting. Let me buy you a proper coffee to replace the one currently decorating the stairs, and I'll explain everything. Warning bells rang in Olivia's mind. This was strange, borderline inappropriate. And yet, if there was a chance to help Max... I don't make a habit of getting into cars with strangers, Mr. Blackwood, even ones who saved me from concussions. His laugh was unexpected, a rich, genuine sound that echoed in the stairwell. Fair enough. How about the hospital cafe? Very public, lots of witnesses if I turn out to be an axe murderer. Despite herself, Olivia felt a smile tugging at her lips. The cafe coffee is terrible. So I've heard. Consider it penance for startling you. He gestured toward the stairs. Shall we? I promise to watch for rogue puddles. Olivia hesitated only a moment longer before nodding. All right, one coffee, but then I need to reschedule my presentation. Of course. He held the door open for her. After you, Dr. Chen. As they descended the stairs together, Olivia couldn't shake the feeling that this chance encounter was about to change everything. What she didn't know was just how right she was, or that Ethan Blackwood had far more than hospital funding on his mind when he'd come looking for her that morning. The hospital cafe buzzed with the usual mid-morning traffic, doctors snatching quick breaks, visitors seeking caffeine reinforcements, and staff gossiping over yogurt parfaits. Olivia felt the curious glances as she and Ethan found a small table by the window overlooking the hospital gardens. It wasn't every day that someone like Ethan Blackwood appeared in their midst, looking like he'd stepped out of a luxury watch advertisement. 2 coffees, please, he said to the barista, who had practically sprinted to their table. Whatever your best blend is, and he glanced at Olivia with a raised eyebrow. Just black is fine, she said, trying to ignore the speculative look the barista gave them. Make that one black, one with a splash of cream, Ethan amended, and perhaps something to eat. I'm guessing you skipped breakfast to prepare for your meeting. The accuracy of his statement made Olivia shift uncomfortably. Do you always analyze strangers so thoroughly, or am I a special case? Eh? Both, he replied without hesitation, a smile playing at his lips. Your pager went off twice during our walk here. You've checked your phone 3 times, and you keep glancing at the clock. Classic signs of someone who prioritizes work over basic self-care. I recognize it because I'm guilty of the same. The barista returned with their coffees and 2 blueberry muffins. Ethan thanked her and slid 1 muffin toward Olivia. So, Olivia said, breaking off a small piece of muffin, this proposition of yours, I'm assuming it has something to do with your company's contract with the hospital. Ethan leaned back in his chair, studying her with those penetrating blue eyes. Partly, but it's more personal than that. He took a sip of his coffee, grimaced slightly and set it down. You were right about the coffee quality. I warned you, she said, feeling an unexpected twinge of amusement. There was something oddly comforting about seeing the polished billionaire react, like a normal human to the hospital's notoriously terrible brew. Indeed you did. He pushed his cup aside. Doctor, Olivia, if I may, what if I told you I could ensure Max Rodriguez gets his procedure fully funded, no questions asked? Olivia's heart skipped. I'd ask what the catch is. Smart woman. He nodded approvingly. The catch, as you put it, is that I need your expertise for a project I'm developing. A new pediatric cardiac monitoring system that could revolutionize post-operative care, especially for complex cases like Max's. You want me to consult on your tech. I want you to lead the medical side of the development team. He leaned forward, eyes intensifying. Your research is exactly what we need to take this from concept to reality. In return, my foundation will establish a dedicated fund for cases like Max's, children who need specialized procedures not covered by insurance or hospital budgets. Olivia's mind raced. It sounded too good to be true. Why me? Boston Memorial has several cardiac specialists with more experience, more publications, more politics, more ego, more resistance to innovation, Ethan countered. I've met with 3 of them already. They're interested in my money, but not in challenging established protocols. You're different. Your paper showed that. You put patients first, even when it means fighting the system. He paused, his expression softening slightly. Also, none of them would have been racing to a budget meeting with 3-inch heels and determination to match. Despite herself, Olivia felt her cheeks warm. That's still not explaining why you were looking for me specifically today, in that stairwell. Ethan's gaze dropped briefly to his coffee cup. For the first time, he seemed slightly discomfited. The truth? I was working up the courage to approach you. I've been following your work for months, ever since my system flagged your outcomes data as statistically significant. I had a whole pitch prepared for after the budget meeting. He looked up, that dimple appearing again. The universe apparently had other plans. The universe, or a negligent maintenance worker, Olivia muttered, but she couldn't help returning his smile. Either way, here we are. He pulled a business card from his jacket pocket and slid it across the table. My private number. Think about my offer. Talk to your department head if you need to. I'm hosting a fundraiser at my home this weekend for the hospital's new pediatric wing. Come as my guest, see what my foundation is already doing, and we can discuss the details further. Olivia picked up the card, the heavy stock expensive against her fingertips. This is all very sudden, Mr. Blackwood. Life's most important moments usually are, Dr. Chen. He stood, buttoning his jacket with a practiced motion. And please, it's Ethan. I've already seen you fall. I think we're past formalities. She found herself standing too, clutching his card. I'll think about it. That's all I ask. He extended his hand, and when she took it, his grip was warm and firm. For what it's worth, I believe we could do extraordinary things together, Olivia, for children like Max. He held her gaze a moment longer than necessary, something unreadable flickering in those blue depths. Then he released her hand, nodded once, and walked away, leaving Olivia standing beside a cooling cup of terrible coffee and a half-eaten muffin, wondering what hurricane had just swept through her carefully ordered life. As she watched his tall figure disappear through the cafe doors, her pager beeped again, real life calling her back. She glanced down at Ethan's card once more before tucking it into her coat pocket. Whatever game he was playing, whatever his real motives were, one thing was certain: Max Rodriguez needed that procedure. And if attending a fancy fundraiser was the price for giving that little boy a chance at a normal life, then Olivia would buy herself a dress and step into Ethan Blackwood's world, cautiously, with her eyes wide open. What she didn't see was Ethan pausing in the hospital lobby, phone to his ear. It's done, he said quietly to the person on the other end. She's exactly as we expected. Smart, dedicated, wary. He listened for a moment, his expression grave. No, I didn't tell her everything. Not yet. Some truths need the right moment. Another pause. Yes, I know what's at stake. Better than anyone. He ended the call and slipped the phone into his pocket, his gaze turning toward the window, where, 6 floors up, he knew Olivia Chen was already back at work, unaware of just how deeply their lives were already intertwined, or why he had really been waiting to catch her. Olivia stood in front of her closet Friday evening, towel wrapped around her body, hair dripping onto the hardwood floor of her modest apartment. The fundraiser at Ethan Blackwood's home was tomorrow night, and despite her better judgment, she had RSVP'd yes. This is ridiculous, she muttered to herself, pushing hangers across the rod. Nothing suitable for a millionaire's mansion appeared. Her wardrobe consisted primarily of practical work clothes, casual weekend wear, and exactly one black cocktail dress she'd worn to 3 different weddings. Her phone buzzed with a text from her best friend and fellow doctor, Maya. Found you the perfect dress. Picking you up in 20, no arguments. An hour later, Olivia stared at her reflection in a high-end boutique's mirror. The midnight blue gown hugged her curves, before flowing elegantly to the floor. Its simplicity making a statement without trying too hard. You look incredible, Maya said, circling her with the critical eye of someone who had attended far more galas than Olivia. Blackwood won't know what hit him. This isn't about Blackwood, Olivia protested weakly. It's about funding for Max's procedure. Maya raised a skeptical eyebrow. Keep telling yourself that, sweetie. Meanwhile, explain again why Boston's most eligible bachelor was waiting to catch you in a stairwell. Olivia had been asking herself the same question all week. Between surgeries and rounds, she'd Googled Ethan Blackwood extensively. 36 years old, self-made tech billionaire, notorious workaholic. His company, Blackwood Health Systems, had revolutionized medical data integration. More intriguingly, 3 years ago he had established the Blackwood Foundation, which funded cutting-edge pediatric medical research and procedures. What she couldn't find was any personal information beyond superficial profiles, no serious relationships, no scandals, no social media presence. For someone so prominent, Ethan Blackwood was remarkably private. Earth to Olivia. Maya waved a hand in front of her face. You're thinking about him again. I'm thinking about his money, Olivia corrected, turning away from her reflection. And what strings might be attached to it. Well, you'll find out tomorrow night, Maya said, handing her credit card to the sales associate. My treat. Consider it research funding. Maya, I can't let you. You can and you will. Think of all the times you've covered my shifts. Besides, she grinned mischievously, I expect a full report on Blackwood's mansion. Every detail. Saturday evening arrived with unnerving speed. A sleek black car, sent by Ethan, of course, pulled up outside Olivia's apartment building precisely at 7. The driver, a woman in her 50s with a no-nonsense demeanor, introduced herself as Helen. Mr. Blackwood sends his apologies for not collecting you himself, Dr. Chen. An urgent matter required his attention, but he's looking forward to your arrival. The drive took them out of the city, winding along the coast until they reached a secluded peninsula. Massive iron gates opened silently as they approached, revealing a winding driveway lined with old growth trees. When the house came into view, Olivia's breath caught. House was an understatement. The modern structure of glass and stone seemed to emerge organically from the coastal landscape, its multiple levels cascading toward the ocean below. Lights glowed warmly from within, and valets stood ready at the circular drive. Mr. Blackwood designed it himself, Helen commented, noting Olivia's wide eyes. Built into the cliffside to minimize environmental impact. Guests in formal attire streamed inside, Boston's elite mingling with medical professionals Olivia recognized from the hospital. Self-consciousness crept up her spine as Helen escorted her to the entrance. The interior was even more impressive. Soaring ceilings, minimalist furnishings that probably cost more than her medical school debt, and floor-to-ceiling windows showcasing the Atlantic, churning dramatically below. A string quartet played in one corner, nearly drowned out by the hum of conversation and clinking glasses. Dr. Chen. The familiar voice sent an unexpected shiver down her back. She turned to find Ethan approaching, impeccable in a black tuxedo that looked custom-made for his tall frame. His blue eyes warmed as they swept over her, appreciation evident in his slight intake of breath. "You look stunning," he said simply, taking her hand and pressing a light kiss to her knuckles. "Thank you for coming." "Thank you for the invitation," she replied, striving for professional detachment despite the flutter in her stomach. "Your home is beautiful." "Just a place to sleep," he said with a casual shrug that seemed at odds with their opulent surroundings. "The view does most of the work." He offered his arm. "Would you like a tour before I introduce you to some people you should meet?" As they moved through the crowded rooms, Olivia noticed how people responded to Ethan, with respect bordering on deference, but also curiosity. Their eyes inevitably shifted to her, questions evident in their expressions. "Everyone's wondering who I am," she murmured. "Let them wonder," he replied, his hand warm against the small of her back as he guided her toward a quieter section of the house. "Most people here are more interested in appearances than substance anyway," the statement surprised her, says the man hosting an extravagant fundraiser in his cliffside mansion. His laugh was genuine. "Touché, but necessary evil. These people's checkbooks fund research that saves lives." He paused, turning to face her. "Speaking of which, I have news about Max Rodriguez." Olivia's heart skipped. "What news?" "I've arranged for Dr. Lawrence Reynolds to fly in from Cleveland. He's agreed to perform the procedure, and my foundation will cover all costs." Olivia stared at him, momentarily speechless. Reynolds was the pioneer of the technique Max needed, the best in the world. "How did you... when..." "I made some calls Sunday morning. Reynolds owed me a favor." Ethan's expression grew serious. "The surgery is scheduled for next Thursday, assuming you approve. I didn't want to tell Max's parents until I had your medical sign-off." Yes, of course I approve. Reynolds is exactly who I would have chosen." Emotion welled in her throat. "Thank you, Ethan, truly." Something shifted in his gaze, a vulnerability appearing briefly before he masked it. "You're welcome. But this isn't a one-time gesture, Olivia. I meant what I said about the foundation establishing a dedicated fund for cases like Max's. With the condition that I lead your medical development team," she finished for him. "Not a condition, an invitation." He stepped closer, his voice lowering. "There's something else you should know about why I sought you out." "Ethan! There you are!" A woman's voice interrupted them. They turned to see an elegant older woman approaching, silver hair styled perfectly, diamonds glittering at her throat. "You've been hiding your guest of honor." Ethan's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "Mother, I was just about to bring Dr. Chen to meet you." Catherine Blackwood's assessing gaze reminded Olivia of attending physicians during rounds, clinical, evaluating, missing nothing. "So this is the brilliant Dr. Chen. I've heard so much about you." "All good things, I hope," Olivia replied, shaking the offered hand. "Fascinating things, certainly." Catherine's smile didn't quite reach her eyes. "Ethan rarely takes such personal interest in his foundation's beneficiaries." "Mother," Ethan's warning tone carried an undercurrent Olivia couldn't decipher. "What?" "I'm merely observing that your enthusiasm for Dr. Chen's work seems particularly passionate." Catherine turned back to Olivia. "Has my son told you about his personal connection to congenital heart defects?" Ethan's posture stiffened. "Mother, this isn't the time." "No, he hasn't," Olivia said, curiosity piqued. Catherine raised an eyebrow at her son. "No? How interesting." She patted Olivia's arm. "You must ask him sometime. It's quite a story." With that cryptic statement, she glided away to greet other guests. Silence stretched between them, charged with unspoken questions. "Your mother seems formidable," Olivia finally said. "You have no idea." Ethan's expression had closed off. The openness of moments before vanished. She's also right. There are things you should know about why I approached you specifically. He checked his watch. But not now. We have 500 guests and a fundraising goal to meet. The rest of the evening passed in a whirlwind of introductions and conversations. Olivia met hospital board members, potential donors, and medical technology innovators, all clearly handpicked by Ethan to further her research. By midnight, her head was spinning with possibilities, connections, and unanswered questions. As the crowd thinned, Ethan found her on the terrace overlooking the ocean, the sound of waves crashing against the cliffs below. "You're a natural," he said, joining her at the railing. 3 different people asked for your contact information regarding potential funding. "It's easy to be passionate about saving children's lives," she replied, shivering slightly in the night air. Without hesitation, Ethan removed his jacket and draped it over her shoulders. The warmth of him lingered in the fabric, enveloping her. "I meant what I said earlier, Olivia. There's more to why I sought you out." His face was partially shadowed in the dim lighting, making him harder to read. "My personal connection, as my mother so subtly mentioned. You don't owe me an explanation." "I think I do." He turned to face the ocean, his profile strong against the night sky. "My younger sister, Sophie, was born with a complex congenital heart defect, similar to what Max has, actually." Understanding dawned. "That's why you established the foundation," he nodded. "Sophie had 3 surgeries before she was 5. The last one was experimental, high risk, but potentially curative." The way his voice caught told Olivia everything. "I'm so sorry, Ethan. It was 25 years ago. Medical technology was different then." His hands gripped the railing. "When I read your research, saw your outcomes data, I couldn't help thinking how different things might have been if Sophie had had a doctor like you." The revelation shifted everything. His interest in her work, his foundation, his personal involvement in Max's case, it all made sense now. But something still didn't feel complete. "Thank you for telling me," she said softly. He turned to her, his expression intense. "There's more, Olivia. Something I haven't told anyone outside my family." He took a deep breath. "The same genetic mutation that caused Sophie's condition, I carry it too." Olivia's medical mind immediately processed the implications. "Have you had yourself screened? Sometimes these mutations can cause latent cardiomyopathy." "Yes." His smile was sad. "Diagnosed 3 years ago. Asymptomatic so far, but progressing. That's the other reason I've been following your research. Your work on genetic therapy for structural heart abnormalities could potentially help address the underlying cause," she finished, medical excitement momentarily overshadowing the personal revelation. "Ethan, why didn't you just tell me this from the beginning? Would you have believed me, a wealthy tech entrepreneur claiming personal interest in your obscure medical research?" He shook his head. "I needed you to see the foundation, the work we're already doing, to understand this isn't about charity or tax write-offs. It's about Sophie," she said gently. "And about you." "Yes." He met her gaze directly. "But now, increasingly, it's about you too, Olivia." The weight of his words hung between them, loaded with meaning beyond professional collaboration. Before she could respond, the terrace door opened, and Helen appeared. "Dr. Chen, your car is ready whenever you wish to depart." "Thank you, Helen," Ethan replied without taking his eyes from Olivia's face. "Would you give us a moment?" When they were alone again, he took her hand. "I've laid a lot on you tonight, more than I intended. Take the weekend to think about everything, the foundation position, the research possibilities, all of it. And us?" The question slipped out before she could stop it. His eyes darkened. "That too, if you want there to be an us to consider." Olivia carefully removed his jacket from her shoulders, returning it to him. "I should go. Early rounds tomorrow." "Of course." He walked her to the door, professional distance reinstated. "I'll call you Monday about Max's procedure details." At the entrance, he surprised her by brushing his lips against her cheek, so briefly she might have imagined it. "Good night, Dr. Chen." "Good night, Mr. Blackwood," she replied, deliberately formal even as her skin tingled from his touch. In the car driving back to the city, Olivia's mind raced with new information, possibilities and warnings. Ethan Blackwood was offering her a dream opportunity professionally, and perhaps something more personally. But his revelation about his own condition complicated everything. Was she a doctor to him, a researcher, a potential partner, or all three? And why couldn't she shake the feeling that there was still something he wasn't telling her? Monday morning arrived with Boston shrouded in fog, mirroring Olivia's clouded thoughts. She'd spent Sunday alternating between researching Ethan's condition, rereading her own studies with his case in mind, and overthinking every moment of their interaction at the fundraiser. "You look like you need this more than I do," Maya said, sliding an extra coffee across the nurse's station counter. "Rough weekend." "Complicated," Olivia replied, gratefully accepting the caffeine. The fundraiser was illuminating. Before she could elaborate, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Car picking you up at noon for lunch meeting." Important development with Max's case. Noon found her in the back of another sleek black car, this time with Ethan himself beside her, his usual polish slightly diminished by the shadows under his eyes. "Rough night?" she asked, echoing Maya's earlier question to her. "Complicated," he replied with a tired smile, unknowingly mirroring her own answer. "Reynolds arrived this morning. He's reviewed Max's case and wants to discuss some modifications to the procedure." The car took them not to a restaurant as she'd expected, but to a nondescript building in Cambridge. Inside, sophisticated security measures guarded what appeared to be Blackwood Health Systems research facility. "Welcome to where the magic happens," Ethan said, leading her through sliding glass doors that opened at his approach. The laboratory beyond was state-of-the-art, with equipment Olivia had only read about in medical journals. White-coated researchers worked at various stations, some glancing up curiously as they passed. In a conference room overlooking the lab floor, Dr. Lawrence Reynolds waited, a legend in pediatric cardiac surgery whose techniques Olivia had studied extensively during her residency. "Dr. Chen," he greeted her warmly, "your work on the Rodriguez case is exemplary. I'm looking forward to our collaboration." The next hour was a whirlwind of medical discussion, surgical planning, and technological innovations Olivia hadn't known existed outside of theoretical papers. "The key improvement," Reynolds explained, indicating a 3D holographic model of Max's heart hovering above the table, "is this biocompatible sensor Blackwood's team has developed. Once implanted, it will provide real-time data on structural integrity and blood flow patterns, giving us unprecedented monitoring capabilities post-surgery," Olivia finished, mind racing with implications. "This could revolutionize follow-up care." "Exactly," Ethan said, watching her excitement with evident satisfaction. "This is just the prototype of what my medical development team has been working on. The team I want you to lead going forward." Reynolds excused himself for a call, leaving them alone in the conference room. "This is incredible, Ethan," Olivia admitted, "but I have to ask, is Max a test case for your new technology?" "No," he answered firmly. "The procedure would happen with or without the sensor. This is simply an opportunity to help Max while advancing the field." He hesitated. "Speaking of advancing the field, I had my genome sequenced again using our latest techniques. The results came in last night." Something in his tone made Olivia's stomach tighten. "And my condition is progressing faster than previously estimated." His clinical tone couldn't completely mask the emotion beneath. "The latest models predict significant cardiac deterioration within 3 to 5 years. Olivia's doctor instincts kicked in. "What's your current ejection fraction? Are you experiencing any symptoms? Shortness of breath, fatigue, arrhythmias?" 52%, down from 58 last year. Occasional palpitations, nothing serious yet. He smiled faintly at her rapid-fire questions. This is exactly why I need you, Olivia. Not just for patients like Max, but for the broader applications of your genetic therapy research. The pieces click together. You want to be a test subject. I want to fund the research properly, with or without personal benefit, he corrected. But yes, I hope to eventually qualify for whatever treatments you develop. Olivia's mind was already cataloguing possibilities, potential approaches, research protocols she could implement with Blackwood's resources. Then she caught herself. Ethan, this is a massive conflict of interest. You're offering me a dream position while essentially asking me to save your life. I'm offering you the position because you're the best in the field, he countered. My condition is secondary. Is it? She studied his face. Be honest with me. Is that really why you were waiting to catch me on those stairs? Something flashed in his eyes. Vulnerability, perhaps guilt. Not entirely, he admitted, but not in the way you're thinking. The conference room door opened before he could elaborate. Reynolds returned, followed by a woman Olivia recognized with surprise. Dr. Chen, Catherine Blackwood nodded crisply. I see my son has been discussing his proposal with you. Mother! Ethan's voice held warning. We agreed you would let me handle this. And you've had a week, Catherine replied coolly. Time is something we don't have in abundance, as you well know. She turned to Olivia. Has he told you everything yet? Mother, please. I'll take that as a no. Catherine pulled a tablet from her bag, sliding it across the conference table. Perhaps this will expedite matters. On the screen was a medical file, not Ethan's, but a child's. A girl, age 8, with the surname Blackwood. Confusion washed over Olivia. I don't understand. My granddaughter, Catherine said simply. Ethan's daughter. Olivia's head snapped up to Ethan, whose expression had gone carefully blank. You have a daughter? Yes. His voice was tight. Emily. With the same genetic condition as his sister, Catherine continued. Currently asymptomatic, but the markers are there. She'll begin developing symptoms within 2 years without intervention. The room seemed to tilt slightly. Why didn't you tell me? I was going to. Ethan's composure cracked. After the fundraiser, but it never seemed like the right moment. I didn't want you to think I was using my daughter to manipulate you into... Into what? Olivia interrupted, anger flaring. Into developing treatments that could save her life. That's literally my job, Ethan. I know, but no buts. She stood abruptly. You should have been honest from the beginning, about Emily, about everything. Catherine watched their exchange with shrewd eyes. Perhaps I should leave you two to discuss this privately. No need, Olivia said, gathering her things. I've heard enough for one meeting. I'll review Emily's file and be in touch about Max's procedure. She headed for the door, then paused. For the record, Ethan, I would have helped your daughter regardless of any job offer or personal interest. That's what doctors do. Ethan caught up to her at the elevator. Olivia, wait, please. She turned, maintaining professional distance despite the storm of emotions inside her. What is it? You're right. I should have told you everything immediately. His usual confidence had vanished. I've spent 3 years searching for someone with your expertise, your innovation, your compassion. When I found you, I was afraid. Afraid of what? That you'd see us as just another wealthy family trying to buy priority treatment. That you wouldn't understand the urgency. That you'd say no. He ran a hand through his hair, disheveling its perfect styling. Emily is my whole world, Olivia. Her mother died when she was 2, complications from the same genetic issue I carry. I've been searching for answers ever since. With the revelation of Emily's mother's fate hit Olivia hard. I'm sorry about your wife. Ex-wife, he corrected quietly. We'd separated before her condition worsened. Another regret in a long list. He stepped closer. I'm not asking for your forgiveness, just your understanding. And if you can find it in yourself to help Emily separate from anything else between us, I would be eternally grateful. Olivia felt her resolve softening despite herself. I need to think, Ethan. This is a lot to process. Of course. He stepped back, professional demeanor returning. Take all the time you need. The offer stands, both professional and personal, but Emily's case is separate. Whatever you decide about us, about the position, she needs your help. The elevator arrived with a soft ping. Olivia stepped inside, pressing the lobby button. As the doors began to close, Ethan's voice reached her one last time. For what it's worth, catching you on those stairs was the most honest moment I've had in years. The doors slid shut on his troubled expression, leaving Olivia alone with tumultuous thoughts and a decision that suddenly felt much more significant than a career opportunity or a potential romance. Back at the hospital, she threw herself into her regular rounds, trying to focus on her current patients rather than the Blackwood complications. But by evening, she found herself in her office, Emily's file open on her computer, comparing it with Max's and a dozen similar cases. A knock at her door interrupted her concentration. "Come in," she called, expecting a nurse or resident. Instead, a small girl with Ethan's blue eyes and sandy blonde hair peeked around the doorframe. "Are you Dr. Chen?" she asked, her voice soft but clear. Olivia stared, momentarily speechless. "Yes, I am. And you must be Emily." The girl nodded, slipping into the office. She wore jeans and a t-shirt with a cartoon character Olivia didn't recognize, looking like any normal 8-year-old except for the seriousness in her eyes. "Dad doesn't know I'm here. Grandma brought me. She said you're the doctor who can fix hearts like mine." "Your grandmother brought you?" Olivia asked, surprised and somewhat concerned. "She's outside talking to some doctor she knows." Emily approached Olivia's desk, studying her with open curiosity. "Dad has your picture on his desk at home. He said you're the smartest heart doctor he's ever met." Something warm and complicated bloomed in Olivia's chest. "That's very kind of him." Emily nodded solemnly. "He also said you might be mad at him right now because he didn't tell you about me right away." She twisted the hem of her shirt. "Please don't be too mad. He gets scared sometimes about my heart, even though he pretends not to." The simple honesty of a child cut through all the complexity of the situation. "I'm not mad, Emily. Just surprised. Will you help fix my heart like you're fixing Max's? Direct and to the point, just like her father. Dad says I might need special medicine someday, and you know how to make it." Before Olivia could answer, Catherine appeared in the doorway. "Emily, I told you to wait with the nurse." "I wanted to meet Dr. Chen myself," the girl replied, unapologetically. Catherine sighed, but there was fondness beneath her stern exterior. "Clearly you're your father's daughter." She turned to Olivia. "I apologize for the ambush, Dr. Chen. This wasn't planned." "It's all right," Olivia said, finding that she meant it. Meeting Emily had shifted something fundamental inside her. This wasn't about Ethan's omissions or professional opportunities anymore. It was about a little girl with a genetic time bomb in her chest and the chance to prevent another tragedy in a family that had already experienced too many. "I have a proposition for you both," she said, decision crystallizing. "Why don't we call your dad and invite him to join us for ice cream? I think we have some important things to discuss." Emily's face lit up. "Can we get chocolate chip cookie dough?" "Absolutely," Olivia replied, already reaching for her phone. "And while we eat, you can tell me all about this character on your shirt, because I have no idea who that is." "That's Atom Heart," Emily explained, eyes widening in surprise. "She's only the coolest superhero ever. She can control electricity and fix broken machines with her mind because she has a special heart that's part computer." As Olivia dialed Ethan's number, she caught Catherine watching her with something that might have been approval, or perhaps it was relief. Either way, as the phone rang, Olivia knew her life had just taken another unexpected turn, one that felt strangely right, despite all the complications ahead. Ethan answered on the first ring, his voice tense. "Olivia, is everything okay?" "Everything's fine," she assured him, watching Emily examine the anatomical heart model on her desk with intelligent curiosity. I have someone here who would like to invite you for ice cream. And Ethan, I think we have a lot to talk about. The silence on the other end spoke volumes. Then, softly, I'll be there in 15 minutes. As she hung up, Olivia realized that sometimes the most important catches in life weren't on staircases, but in moments of truth that changed everything. The next 3 days passed in a whirlwind of preparation for Max Rodriguez's surgery. Following their ice cream summit, during which Emily had thoroughly charmed Olivia with her precocious questions about cardiac medicine, Olivia had agreed to join Ethan's research team with certain conditions. Full academic freedom, she'd insisted, watching Emily attempt to fit an impossible amount of cookie dough ice cream into her mouth. My research remains my own intellectual property, though your company gets first licensing rights. Agreed, Ethan had said without hesitation. I maintain my position at Boston Memorial. 2 days clinical work, 3 days research. Of course. And we keep our professional and personal lives separate, she'd added, lowering her voice so Emily couldn't hear. Whatever happens between us happens on its own timeline, not because of work or family considerations. At that, Ethan had studied her with those intense blue eyes, now mirrored in his daughter's curious gaze. Agreed, Dr. Chen, with one caveat. Which is? More that you recognize I've been falling for you since long before you fell into my arms. The timing may be suspect, but my feelings are not. Now, standing in the surgical prep room, as the team readied for Max's procedure, Olivia tried to focus on the case at hand rather than the memory of Ethan's words or the gentle kiss he'd placed on her cheek after walking her to her apartment door that night. Dr. Chen, a nurse interrupted her thoughts. The Rodriguez family is asking for you. In the waiting area, she found Maria and Carlos Rodriguez sitting tensely, hands clasped. Their 7-year-old son Max sat between them, remarkably calm for a child about to undergo major heart surgery, playing a game on a tablet. Dr. Chen! Max's face lit up when he saw her. Look what Mr. Ethan gave me. He held up the tablet. It has special games that help the doctors see how my heart is working. It's like being a superhero in training. Olivia smiled, recognizing Ethan's touch in this thoughtful distraction. That's amazing, Max. Are you ready for your big day? The boy nodded solemnly. Mr. Ethan said after my heart gets fixed, I can come see his robots that help build special medicines. He said maybe someday I could be a robot engineer too. Ethan said that, did he? Olivia glanced around, half expecting to see him lurking nearby. Well, he's right. You can be anything you want after we fix your heart. Maria Rodriguez squeezed her hand. We can never thank you enough, Dr. Chen, or Mr. Blackwood. The foundation is covering everything. The surgery, the hotel, even Max's school tutoring while he recovers. Just focus on Max today, Olivia assured her. Everything else is taken care of. As if summoned by their conversation, Ethan appeared at the entrance to the waiting area, dressed impeccably as always, though his expression was more subdued than his usual confident demeanor. The Rodriguezes, he greeted warmly. And the man of the hour. How are you feeling, Max? Ready to get my superhero heart, the boy declared, causing his parents to smile, despite their anxiety. Ethan crouched to Max's level. That's the spirit. And remember our deal. Max nodded vigorously. When I wake up, I have to tell Dr. Chen that her hair looks pretty today. Olivia shot Ethan a look of amused exasperation as he straightened, not even attempting to appear contrite. Really, Mr. Blackwood? Just trying to facilitate honest communication, Dr. Chen, he replied innocently, though his eyes danced with something warmer. Max and I have an understanding about important things that shouldn't go unsaid. Before she could respond, Dr. Reynolds appeared. We're ready when you are, Max. As the anesthesia team took Max, his parents following as far as they were allowed, Ethan touched Olivia's arm lightly. I won't keep you, he said, his expression turning serious. I just wanted to wish you luck. I know you're observing the procedure. Thank you. She was suddenly aware of how close they were standing, of the faint scent of his cologne, of the staff watching them with poorly disguised interest. "Olivia," he said, voice low enough that only she could hear, "when this is over, regardless of how it turns out, remember you did everything possible for that boy. Whatever happens isn't on you." The statement struck her as oddly specific. "Are you worried about the procedure?" A shadow crossed his face. "Let's just say I've been on the other side of that waiting room. It helps to hear that, even when you know the risks intellectually." Understanding dawned. Sophie's surgery. He nodded once, jaw tight. "Go be brilliant, Dr. Chen. I'll check in later." As Olivia scrubbed in 20 minutes later, she found herself wondering, not for the first time, how Ethan Blackwood had managed to see through her professional confidence to the core fear that haunted every surgeon, that despite all their skill and preparation, some outcomes remained beyond their control. The procedure itself was a masterclass in precision. Dr. Reynolds led with Olivia assisting, their movements synchronized, as if they'd worked together for years instead of hours. The innovative sensor Ethan's team had developed was smaller than Olivia had imagined, almost microscopic, as Reynolds carefully positioned it within Max's tiny heart. "Perfect placement," Reynolds murmured as the sensor activated, sending its first data stream to the monitoring system. "Remarkable technology. Your Mr. Blackwood might revolutionize post-operative monitoring with this." "He's not my Mr. Blackwood," Olivia replied automatically, eyes fixed on the delicate sutures she was placing. Reynolds chuckled behind his surgical mask. "If you say so, Doctor. Chen, though he's built an entire research division, apparently designed to your specifications, not many surgeons inspire that level of investment." 6 hours later, as they closed Max's chest, Olivia allowed herself to breathe normally again. The procedure had gone as well as possible, better even, with the sensor functioning flawlessly. "Textbook success," Reynolds declared as they exited the OR. "You should be proud, Dr. Chen. Your pre-surgical planning made this possible." In the surgical waiting area, the Rodriguez family leapt to their feet at their approach. Olivia felt the familiar surge of joy as she delivered the good news, watching relief and happiness transform their exhausted faces. "Max is in recovery now," she explained. "Everything went perfectly. The sensor is already sending data, and his heart is responding exactly as we hoped." What she didn't expect was to see Ethan standing in the corner of the waiting room, Emily beside him, both watching the scene with matching expressions of tentative hope. As the Rodriguezes followed a nurse to see their son in recovery, Ethan approached, Emily's small hand in his. "Successful?" he asked quietly. Olivia nodded, suddenly aware of how tired she was after the long, intense procedure. "Very. Your sensor is working beautifully." Emily tugged at her father's hand. "Can I tell her now?" Ethan smiled down at his daughter. "Go ahead." The girl stepped forward, solemn as a diplomat on a crucial mission. "Dr. Chen, Dad and I wanted to invite you to dinner at our house tomorrow, to celebrate Max getting his superhero heart." She hesitated, then added with the direct honesty only children possess, "and because Dad's been practicing making pasta all week. He says it's the only thing he knows how to cook properly." Olivia couldn't help but laugh at Ethan's expression, a mixture of parental pride and mild betrayal. "Has he now?" "Emily believes in full disclosure," Ethan said dryly. "A quality I'm trying to embrace more myself these days." "In that spirit," Emily continued, clearly on a roll, "I should also tell you that Dad put your picture on our fridge, and Grandma says he's acting like a teenager with his first crush." "Emily!" Ethan's complexion reddened slightly, a humanizing crack in his usual polish. "What? Grandma said honesty is important." The girl shrugged, unrepentant. "So will you come? I can show you my science projects. I'm growing bacteria from different surfaces in the house. The toilet handle has the most interesting cultures." Faced with such earnest invitation and Ethan's mortified yet hopeful expression, Olivia found herself nodding. "I'd love to, Emily, thank you." Excellent, the girl beamed. Dad, can I go see if Max is awake yet? I want to show him my bacteria pictures. Let's check with the nurses first, Ethan replied, sending Olivia an apologetic glance as he led his daughter toward the recovery area. Olivia watched them go, struck by how natural they seemed together despite Ethan's carefully cultivated public image as the solitary tech genius. There was clearly a whole other side to him that few people ever saw, the devoted father who apparently put her picture on his refrigerator and practiced making pasta to impress her. The thought made her smile despite her exhaustion. As she headed to the doctor's lounge to change out of her scrubs, her phone pinged with a text from Maya. Heard the Rodriguez surgery was a success. Also heard Blackwood was there with his daughter. Details needed immediately. Olivia typed back, surgery perfect. And yes, apparently I'm having dinner at his house tomorrow with his daughter, who is growing toilet bacteria for fun. Maya's response was immediate. This is either the weirdest or most adorable billionaire courtship ever. I vote both. Wear something nice but washable. Toilet bacteria. Unpredictable dinner hazards. Laughing, Olivia pocketed her phone and pushed through the lounge door, only to find Catherine Blackwood waiting inside, elegant as ever, in a tailored suit that probably cost more than Olivia's monthly salary. Dr. Chen, she greeted, I hear congratulations are in order. Mrs. Blackwood, Olivia replied cautiously, this is an unexpected visit. I wanted to see the miracle worker myself. Catherine gestured to the chair opposite her. May I have a moment of your time? Warily, Olivia sat, too tired to wonder how Catherine had gained access to the doctor's private lounge. If this is about Emily's case, I'll be reviewing her file more thoroughly now that Max's surgery is complete. It's about my son, actually. Catherine's piercing gaze reminded Olivia uncomfortably of being examined under a microscope. I imagine you've noticed he's quite taken with you. Mrs. Blackwood, Catherine, please. Catherine, Olivia amended, with all due respect, any personal relationship between your son and me is our business. Under normal circumstances, I would agree. Catherine's perfectly manicured fingers tapped the armrest. But these are hardly normal circumstances. My son is dying, Dr. Chen. Perhaps not immediately, but his condition is progressing faster than he's admitted to you. Olivia felt a chill. What do you mean? His latest tests show significant deterioration, the 3 to 5 year timeline he gave you. His doctors believe it's closer to 2, maybe less, if he continues working at his current pace. Catherine's composure slipped slightly. Ethan doesn't know I'm telling you this. He wouldn't want your pity or for it to influence your decision to pursue a relationship with him. Why are you telling me then? Catherine's gaze softened slightly. Because I've buried one child already, Dr. Chen. I have no intention of burying another if it can be prevented, and because Emily needs her father. She paused. And perhaps because I've seen how he looks at you. It's the first time since Sophie's death that I've seen real hope in his eyes. Olivia struggled to process this information. Your son has been less than forthcoming with me from the beginning. Why should I believe this isn't another manipulation? A fair question. Catherine reached into her purse, withdrawing a USB drive. His complete medical records. Review them yourself. Draw your own conclusions. She stood, smoothing her already immaculate suit. I'm not asking you to save him, Dr. Chen. I'm merely suggesting that if you care for him at all, time may be more limited than you realize. After Catherine left, Olivia sat motionless, the USB drive heavy in her palm. Part of her wanted to throw it away, to reject this intrusion into her carefully maintained professional boundaries. But the larger part, the doctor, the researcher, and perhaps the woman who was increasingly drawn to Ethan despite her better judgment, knew she would look at those records before the day was out. Her phone pinged again with a text from Ethan. Max is awake and asking for you. Says he has an important message to deliver. Sighing, Olivia pocketed the USB drive and headed for recovery. Whatever complications lay ahead in her relationship with the Blackwoods, right now, a 7-year-old patient needed her. The rest would have to wait. In the recovery room, Max was groggy but alert, his parents hovering anxiously at his bedside. Emily sat in a chair nearby, showing him something on her tablet that made him smile despite his discomfort. There she is. Max brightened when he saw Olivia. "Dr. Chen, I remembered my important job." Olivia approached his bedside, smiling warmly. "And what job is that, Max?" The boy's face turned serious as he delivered his message with great solemnity. "Your hair looks really pretty today, and Mr. Ethan says even though you're the smartest doctor ever, you might not know that." From across the room, Ethan winced, clearly not having expected Max to add the latter part of the message. Their eyes met over the hospital bed, his apologetic, hers torn between exasperation and amusement. "Thank you, Max," she said softly. "That's very kind. How are you feeling?" As she checked his vitals and examined the incision, she was acutely aware of Ethan watching her, of the USB drive in her pocket, of Emily's bright, curious gaze, of the complex web of professional and personal connections that had formed in just over a week. When she finished her examination, Ethan walked her to the door. "I meant what I said earlier," he murmured. "You were brilliant today." "We got lucky," she replied honestly. "These procedures don't always go so smoothly." "It wasn't luck." His hand brushed hers just briefly. "It was skill, preparation, and the right team." He hesitated. "About tomorrow night?" "I'll be there," she assured him, "though I should warn you, I have high expectations for this pasta I've heard so much about." His smile was genuine, crinkling the corners of those blue eyes in a way that made her heart do something entirely unprofessional. "I'll do my best not to disappoint." He glanced back at Emily, who was now explaining something to the Rodriguezes with elaborate hand gestures. "Fair warning, she really will show you her bacteria cultures. She's quite proud of them." "I look forward to it." And surprisingly, Olivia found that she meant it, USB drive and medical complications notwithstanding. As she finally made her way home that evening, physically exhausted but mentally wired, Olivia found herself at a crossroads that had nothing to do with the Boston streets. Ahead lay a path tangled with professional opportunities, ethical considerations, and emotional complications. Behind was the careful, ordered life she'd built, focused entirely on her patients and research. In her apartment, she plugged the USB drive into her laptop, Ethan's medical records filling her screen. Catherine hadn't exaggerated. The progression was concerning, more aggressive than typical cases. His ejection fraction had dropped more rapidly than he'd admitted, and there were early signs of arrhythmia that hadn't been present 6 months ago. As a doctor, Olivia knew what these numbers meant. As a woman increasingly involved with the Blackwoods, she felt something deeper and more painful, fear. Her phone lit up with one final text for the night. "Whatever my mother may have told you today, don't deny it, I know her too well. Remember this. I've spent my life preparing for the worst while hoping for better. Meeting you has shifted the balance toward hope. Sleep well, Dr. Chen." Olivia stared at the message, wondering how he'd known about Catherine's visit, what else he might be keeping from her, and why, despite all the complications and half-truths, she was still looking forward to dinner with him and his bacteria-obsessed daughter tomorrow night. Perhaps, she thought as she finally drifted towards sleep, some falls couldn't be prevented, only managed with grace. And perhaps being caught wasn't always about being saved, but about finding someone willing to fall alongside you. Olivia stood at the imposing front door of Ethan's cliffside home, a bottle of wine in one hand and medical journals in the other. The journals hadn't been on her original dinner at a billionaire's house checklist, but after reviewing Ethan's medical records, she'd spent her morning researching experimental treatments that might slow his condition's progression. Before she could ring the bell, the door swung open to reveal Emily, beaming in a slightly mismatched outfit that suggested she'd dressed herself. "You came!" she exclaimed, as if this had been in doubt. Dad's in the kitchen panicking about the sauce. He's already made it 3 times. Emily, Ethan's voice called from somewhere inside. What have we said about oversharing with guests? That it creates authentic connections by establishing vulnerability and trust, the girl recited, clearly quoting someone's parenting advice. Come see my bacteria. Olivia found herself whisked through the modernist mansion to what appeared to be a state-of-the-art home laboratory converted from a spare bedroom. Petri dishes lined shelves in a specialized incubator, each meticulously labeled in a child's careful handwriting. This one's from the refrigerator handle, Emily explained, holding up a dish with colorful bacterial colonies. And this is from Dad's cell phone. It has the most diversity because he takes it everywhere, even to the bathroom, which is gross but scientifically interesting. Very impressive, Olivia said genuinely. You've got a real scientist's attention to detail. Dad says I get that from my mom. Emily's expression turned thoughtful. I don't remember her much. Just that she liked microscopes too, and had really soft hands. Before Olivia could formulate a response to this poignant observation, Ethan appeared at the doorway, looking endearingly disheveled in casual clothes with a dish towel thrown over one shoulder. I see you've been introduced to the household microbiome, he said, smiling apologetically. Sorry about the ambush. It's fascinating, Olivia assured him, holding up the wine. I brought this, though I wasn't sure what paired best with bacterial cultures. A crisp Chardonnay is traditional, I believe, he replied with mock seriousness. Dinner's almost ready, if you can tear yourself away from the exciting world of refrigerator-handle flora. In the kitchen, a spectacular space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the ocean, Ethan had prepared a simple but elegant meal. The promised pasta was accompanied by fresh bread and salad, all arranged on the massive island counter rather than the formal dining room visible through an archway. We usually eat here, he explained, catching her glance. The dining room is mostly for fundraisers, and when my mother visits, Emily and I prefer things casual. As they ate, Olivia was struck by the easy dynamic between father and daughter. Ethan listened attentively to Emily's detailed descriptions of her school projects, offered thoughtful feedback on her scientific observations, and gently redirected her when her enthusiasm led to over-gesturing with fork in hand. You're really good with her, Olivia commented when Emily excused herself to get her latest school art project. I had excellent motivation to learn, he replied, swirling wine in his glass. After Caroline, her mother, died, Emily was all I had. Everything changed. He glanced around the kitchen. Built this place so she could grow up seeing the ocean every day. Started the foundation with her future in mind. And Blackwood Health Systems. That was already underway, but its direction shifted. His expression grew more serious. Medical data systems are uniquely positioned to identify patterns human doctors might miss. Patterns that could have saved Sophie, maybe Caroline, and might still help Emily and me. The perfect opening. Olivia took a breath. About that, I looked at your records. Ethan didn't seem surprised. Mother's USB drive. You knew? I know her methods. He didn't appear angry, just resigned. What's your professional assessment, Dr. Chen? The progression is concerning, she admitted. But there are experimental treatments showing promise. Gene therapy vectors targeting the specific mutation you carry. Mechanical support systems that could buy time. She reached for the journals she'd brought. I've marked some possibilities. He studied her face rather than the journals. Always the doctor. It's who I am, Ethan. I know. His hand covered hers on the countertop. It's one of the many things I admire about you. He hesitated. But tonight, could we set aside the doctor and patient roles? Just be Olivia and Ethan? Before she could answer, Emily bounded back into the kitchen, proudly displaying a colorful abstract painting. My art teacher says this represents my emotional landscape, she announced. The blue parts are happiness, and the red swirls are excitement. The green dots are curiosity. It's beautiful, Olivia said honestly. You're quite talented. Emily beamed. Dad has it framed already for his office. He says looking at it reminds him to balance work with joy. She studied Olivia thoughtfully. Do you have balance, Dr. Chen? The directness of the question caught Olivia off guard. I try to, but doctors often work long hours. Dad used to work all the time too. Grandma says he was a workaholic zombie. Emily nodded sagely. But now he comes home for dinner every night, and we have science Sundays, where we do experiments together. Ethan cleared his throat, clearly embarrassed. Thank you for that character assessment, Em. Why don't you get ready for bed? School night. After Emily reluctantly departed, with a surprisingly formal handshake for Olivia and the solemn invitation to return for Science Sunday, Ethan suggested they take their wine to the terrace. Outside, the night was clear, stars visible despite the proximity to Boston, the sound of waves crashing below a constant, soothing rhythm. She's extraordinary, Olivia said, settling into a comfortable chair. You've done an amazing job with her. I can't take all the credit. It takes a village. In our case, a somewhat unconventional one, including my mother, several dedicated nannies, and a remarkable child psychologist. He smiled ruefully. I made plenty of mistakes along the way. All parents do, she replied. My own weren't perfect, but they tried their best. Tell me about them, he said, turning those attentive blue eyes on her. You know so much about my family, but I know almost nothing about yours. Olivia found herself sharing stories about her childhood in California, her father's work as a high school science teacher, her mother's career as a nurse, and how their combined influence had steered her toward medicine. They must be very proud of you, Ethan observed. They were, she said softly. Car accident, my second year of medical school, drunk driver. His expression shifted to one of genuine empathy. I'm sorry, Olivia. That's a terrible loss. It was. She looked out at the dark ocean. Sometimes I think it's why I became so focused on saving others, as if somehow it could balance the scales. I understand that impulse all too well. His voice was quiet, reflective. After Sophie died, I channeled everything into building systems that might have saved her. After Caroline, it was finding treatments for Emily's future. He met her eyes. We're both driven by ghosts, in a way. The observation was startlingly accurate. In the comfortable silence that followed, Olivia found herself studying his profile, noting the strength in his jawline, but also the vulnerability in the slight furrow of his brow. Why me, Ethan? She finally asked. With all your resources, all your connections, why focus so intently on my research specifically? He considered the question carefully. The official answer is that your approach to genetic therapy shows more promise than competing methodologies. The statistical models my team developed identified your work as having the highest probability of success. And the unofficial answer. Ethan set down his wine glass, turning fully toward her. The first time I read your research paper, I was struck by a line in your conclusion. You wrote that medicine at its core isn't about extending life indefinitely, but about preserving the capacity for joy and connection within whatever time we have. Olivia remembered writing those words, late one night after losing a young patient, despite everything modern medicine could offer. That perspective, he continued, it resonated with me, made me think you might understand both the scientific challenge and the human one. His voice softened. Then I saw you with your patients during my hospital visits. The way you explained complex procedures to terrified parents. How you high-fived Max after a difficult examination. You weren't just brilliant, you were kind. You were watching me, she realized, before we ever met. Guilty as charged. His smile was slightly sheepish, though the staircase encounter was genuinely accidental. I'd planned a much more professional introduction. The universe had other plans, she echoed his earlier statement. Or a negligent maintenance worker, he replied, the shared callback to their first meeting creating a moment of connection that hummed between them. Later, as Ethan walked her to her car, the night air cool against her skin, Olivia found herself reluctant to leave. Despite all the complications, his medical condition, Emily's future needs, the professional entanglements, something about this evening had felt right in a way few things had since her parents' death. At her car door, Ethan paused, reaching out to tuck a strand of hair behind her ear with a gentleness that made her breath catch. "Thank you for coming tonight," he said softly, "for giving us a chance, despite all the reasons you might have refused." "The pasta was worth it," she replied lightly, though they both knew she meant more. His smile reached his eyes, crinkling their corners. "High praise indeed. Ethan," she began, suddenly needing to address the medical elephant in the room, "about your condition." He placed a finger gently against her lips, silencing her. "Tomorrow you can be Dr. Chen again, with all your brilliant solutions and concerns. Tonight, just be Olivia for a few moments longer." As his finger dropped away, Olivia made a decision. She stepped forward, closing the distance between them, and kissed him. It was gentle at first, a whisper of connection, but deepened as his arms encircled her waist, drawing her closer. When they finally parted, his expression was a mixture of surprise and something that looked remarkably like joy. "I've been wanting to do that since you caught me on those stairs," she admitted. "Worth the wait," he murmured, his forehead resting against hers. As she drove home later, the taste of him still lingering on her lips, Olivia knew she had crossed a line. The careful separation between personal and professional was now irrevocably blurred. Yet somehow, despite all her medical training that emphasized objective distance, this entanglement felt not like a complication, but like a beginning. Her phone chimed with a text as she parked at her apartment. "Emily gives tonight an A+ and wants to know if you'll come to Science Sunday. No pressure," though she did mention that rejection might negatively impact her emotional landscape. Her words, not mine. "Sleep well, Olivia?" Despite everything, the medical challenges ahead, the ethical complexities, the professional considerations, Olivia found herself smiling as she typed her reply. "Tell Emily I accept her invitation. Looking forward to Sunday's experiments, and to seeing you both. Sleep well, Ethan." As she drifted toward sleep that night, Olivia realized something had shifted within her. For the first time in years, her thoughts weren't dominated by surgical procedures or research protocols, but by the sound of a child's laughter and the feel of strong arms holding her close, as if catching her from a different kind of fall altogether. 6 months later, Olivia stood in the state-of-the-art laboratory that had become her second home, reviewing the latest test results from their groundbreaking trial. The Blackwood Foundation's Cardiac Innovation Center, affectionately nicknamed the Heart Lab by the staff, hummed with the energy of a dozen brilliant researchers working toward a common goal. The vector delivery system is showing 97% targeting accuracy, Dr. Patel, her lead assistant, reported excitedly. "The best results we've seen yet," Olivia nodded, scanning the data on her tablet. "And the cellular regeneration markers?" "Up 12% from the last trial. Whatever adjustments you made to the protocol, they're working." Hope flickered in Olivia's chest, though she tempered it with the caution of experience. "Let's run a complete analysis before we celebrate. I want to be absolutely certain before we move to human trials." As Patel returned to his station, Olivia's gaze drifted to the framed photo on her desk, a candid shot taken during one of the now regular Science Sundays at Ethan's home. Emily stood between them, all three wearing matching lab coats, with their names embroidered on the pockets, Ethan's gift to Olivia after her third visit, their faces alight with laughter as Emily's volcano experiment erupted more dramatically than anticipated. The past 6 months had transformed Olivia's life in ways she could never have anticipated that day on the hospital staircase. Her research had progressed at an unprecedented pace, thanks to Blackwood's resources and the dream team Ethan had assembled for her. Max Rodriguez was thriving post-surgery, the innovative monitoring system now approved for wider use after his successful case. And then there was her personal life, once so carefully contained and predictable, now rich with movie nights and science experiments, impromptu dinners and long walks along the beach below Ethan's home. Emily had attached herself to Olivia with the fierce determination that apparently ran in the Blackwood family, appointing her official lab partner and confidant for everything from school drama to deep questions about the universe. As for Ethan, their relationship had developed with a careful tenderness, both aware of the stakes. They'd agreed early on to maintain professional boundaries at work. She was Dr. Chen in the lab, regardless of whether they'd woken up in the same bed that morning. The arrangement raised eyebrows initially, but Olivia's insistence on academic integrity and transparent research protocols quickly silenced any whispers of favoritism. Her phone buzzed with a text from Maya. "Emergency cake situation for tonight. Bakery lost our order. SOS." Olivia grimaced. Tonight was Max Rodriguez's 6-month post-surgery celebration, combined with Ethan's birthday, a gathering at his home for the surgical team, key researchers, and the Rodriguez family. Maya had volunteered to handle the cake, insisting it needed to be spectacular enough for a billionaire, but fun enough for children. "I'll handle it," she texted back. "Focus on your speech." As chief surgical resident, Maya would be presenting the official 6-month follow-up on Max's case, a presentation that would include the groundbreaking data from the monitoring system now being implemented in pediatric cardiac units across the country. Olivia gathered her things, pausing to update her team before heading out. In the elevator, she pressed the button for the executive floor, a habit she'd initially resisted, but now accepted as part of the strange, dual role she occupied in Ethan's life. His assistant waved her straight through to his office, a glass-walled space with spectacular views of Boston Harbor. Ethan was on a video call, but his face brightened visibly when he saw her. He quickly wrapped up the conversation and ended the call. "Dr. Chen," he greeted formally, eyes dancing with the private joke. "To what do I owe this unexpected pleasure?" "Cake emergency," she replied, closing his office door. "Maya lost the order." "Tragic," he deadpanned, rising from his desk, "though I seem to recall telling everyone not to make a fuss about my birthday." "Yes, well, when has anyone ever listened to you about not making a fuss?" She approached his desk, professional demeanor softening. "Besides, it's not every day you turn 37. Something flickered in his expression, a shadow quickly masked. Indeed not. Olivia knew what he was thinking. According to his medical timeline, this birthday marked another milestone closer to the point where his condition would become symptomatic. Despite all their progress in the lab, they were still months away from human trials, and Ethan's latest tests showed continuing deterioration. "I have news," she said, changing the subject. "The new vector design is showing 97% targeting accuracy." His eyes widened. "That's extraordinary." "It's promising," she tempered, ever the cautious scientist. "We need more data, but if these results hold—" "Human trials by winter," he finished, "right on the timeline you projected." Pride radiated from him, untainted by the fact that he might be among the first patients. That was Ethan, always seeing the bigger picture beyond himself. "We should celebrate properly," he continued, circling his desk to stand before her. "Perhaps a quiet dinner this weekend, just the two of us?" His hand settled on her waist, proprietary, yet gentle. "Emily's having a sleepover at her friend Zoe's house. We'll have the place to ourselves." "Sounds perfect," she murmured, allowing herself a moment of closeness, her hands resting on his chest where, beneath expensive fabric and warm skin, his heart beat with its compromised rhythm. "But first, we need to solve the cake crisis for tonight." "I've already handled it," he admitted with a sheepish smile. "Called in a favor at Bastille Bakery. Something with chocolate for the kids, something sophisticated for the adults, being delivered at 6. Olivia shook her head, laughing. Of course you did, always 3 steps ahead. Not always, he countered, brushing a strand of hair from her face. You still manage to surprise me daily, Dr. Chen. The moment was interrupted by his phone buzzing. He glanced at it, frowning slightly. Reynolds, I should take this. Go ahead, she said, stepping back into professional mode. I need to get back to the lab anyway. See you at home later. The word slipped out naturally, though technically it wasn't her home. Yet more and more of her belongings had migrated to Ethan's house over the months, a drawer becoming a closet section, a toothbrush becoming an entire bathroom shelf of products. If Ethan noticed the slip, he didn't comment, simply nodding as he answered the call. Reynolds, what have you got for me? Later that evening, Olivia found herself in Ethan's kitchen, supervising final preparations for the gathering, while Emily helped by taste-testing everything the caterers produced. Is that Max? Emily asked excitedly, hearing the doorbell chime. Can I show him my new microscope? Let him settle in first, Olivia advised, straightening the girl's headband. Remember, he still gets tired easily. The Rodriguez family arrived full of smiles, Max moving with the energy of any healthy 8-year-old, showing off his scar with pride. Dr. Chen, look! It's almost invisible now. Amazing healing, she agreed, kneeling to his level. How are you feeling? Great, I can run all the way around the playground now without getting tired. He lowered his voice conspiratorially. And I brought Mr. Ethan a special birthday present. Mom helped me make it. The party filled with guests, medical staff, researchers, foundation members, and a few of Ethan's close business associates. Catherine Blackwood made a characteristically grand entrance, intimidating in designer attire, but surprisingly warm as she embraced her granddaughter and, to Olivia's shock, Olivia herself. You're looking well, Catherine observed. Both of you. Her gaze drifted to where Ethan was deep in conversation with Reynolds. He seems happy. It's been a long time since I could say that. Before Olivia could respond, Maya arrived, beelining for her with wide eyes. You didn't tell me I'd be presenting to Catherine Blackwood, she hissed. I'm having heart palpitations. You'll be fine, Olivia assured her. Focus on the medical data. That's what matters. The presentations went smoothly. Maya detailing Max's remarkable recovery, Reynolds explaining the wider implications of the monitoring technology, and Ethan graciously deflecting praise to his research teams. Throughout it all, Olivia watched him, the ease with which he navigated different social circles, the genuine warmth he showed Max's parents, the tender attentiveness to Emily's excited interruptions. After the formal presentations, as guests mingled over dessert, the cake situation indeed masterfully resolved, Max approached Ethan with a carefully wrapped package. Happy birthday, Mr. Ethan, he said solemnly. I made this for you because you helped fix my heart. Ethan knelt to accept the gift, unwrapping it with deliberate care. Inside was a handmade book, illustrated in a child's careful drawings, titled My Super Heart Adventure. It's the story of how you and Dr. Chen fixed my heart, Max explained earnestly. See, this is the hospital, and this is you catching Dr. Chen on the stairs, and this is the special robot that lives in my heart now, keeping it strong. Emotion flickered across Ethan's face as he turned the pages, each one depicting moments of Max's journey from diagnosis through surgery to recovery. This is the most thoughtful gift I've ever received, Max. Thank you. Mom says you have a special heart, too. The boy continued innocently. Is that true? Do you have a robot heart helper like me? A hush fell over the nearby guests, the question landing in the space like a stone in still water. Ethan's condition wasn't widely known outside his immediate circle, his public image carefully maintained as the picture of health and success. Without missing a beat, Ethan smiled gently at the boy. Not yet, Max. But if I ever need one, I know exactly which doctor to ask for help. His gaze found Olivia across the room, something unspoken passing between them. Later, After the guests had departed and Emily had finally been convinced to go to bed, despite arguing that scientific evidence suggested optimal cognitive development occurred during late-night conversations with intelligent adults, Olivia found Ethan on the terrace, Max's book open in his hands. "That was quite a moment," she said, joining him at the railing. "You handled it beautifully." "Children have a way of cutting through pretense," he replied, closing the book carefully, "something I've always appreciated about Emily. And now Max." Silence settled between them, comfortable yet charged with things unsaid. The moonlight silvered the ocean below, waves breaking against the cliffs in their eternal rhythm. "The vector results today," Ethan finally said. "They change things, don't they?" Olivia nodded, professional honesty overriding the temptation to offer false hope. "If they hold, yes. We could be looking at first-in-human trials by December or January, which means potential treatment for patients by next spring. For the initial cohort, yes." He turned to face her fully, moonlight casting half his face in shadow. "And your recommendation for that initial cohort? Purely professionally speaking?" Olivia weighed her words carefully. "The strongest candidates would be patients showing early progression, but not yet symptomatic. Patients with the specific genetic marker we've targeted. Patients with," she hesitated, "with family history of the condition. Patients like me," he concluded. "Yes." Ethan's hand found hers on the railing, warm and solid. "And if your brilliant Dr. Chen mind were to make a projection, again, purely professionally, what would be the potential outcomes for such patients?" The question they'd both been circling for months. Olivia took a deep breath. "Best case scenario? Significant reversal of cardiac remodeling, restoration of normal ejection fraction. Possibly complete halt of disease progression, and worst case, partial improvement, slowed progression, extended timeline." She met his gaze directly. "More time, Ethan. Not a cure, perhaps, but more time." He nodded, absorbing this. "Time has become a rather precious commodity in my calculations, I know." His thumb traced circles on her hand, a habit she'd noticed emerged when he was processing complex thoughts. "I have a confession to make, Olivia." "Another one?" she teased gently, trying to lighten the moment. His smile was brief, but genuine. "When I first sought you out, my primary motivation was Emily's future, ensuring she wouldn't face what Sophie did, what I'm facing. I know that, Ethan. But," he continued, "somewhere between watching you in that budget meeting and falling for you completely, my calculations changed." He paused, seeming to search for the right words. "I started wanting more time, not just for Emily's sake, but for my own, for us." The simple honesty of it caught at Olivia's heart. "Ethan, let me finish," he said softly. "I've never been good at uncertainty. My whole life has been about controlling variables, mitigating risks, planning for contingencies. Sophie's death taught me how quickly everything can change. Caroline's illness reinforced it." He took both her hands in his. "But you, Dr. Olivia Chen, with your brilliant mind and your compassionate heart, you've made me want to embrace the uncertainty, to hope for outcomes I can't control or predict." From his pocket, he withdrew a small velvet box, and Olivia's breath caught. "This isn't a proposal," he clarified quickly. "Not yet. That wouldn't be fair, given the unknowns ahead." He opened the box to reveal not a ring, but a delicate platinum key. "It's an invitation to make what you called home earlier today official. To share our lives completely, however long or short that might be." Tears pricked at Olivia's eyes. "Ethan, you don't have to—" "I know I don't have to," he interrupted gently. "I want to. Emily wants it too. Has been campaigning for it quite persistently, in fact." His expression grew more serious. "I understand if it's too much too soon. If the medical complications make it—" It was her turn to interrupt, pressing her fingers to his lips. "Yes." His eyes widened slightly. "Yes? Yes to the key. Yes to making it official. Yes to whatever time we have, whether it's 2 years or 20 or more." She took the key from the box, closing her fingers around it. But with one condition. Name it. You have to promise to trust me as your doctor and your partner when the trials begin. No heroics, no pushing boundaries because you're the founder. You follow medical protocols like any other patient. He considered this, then nodded solemnly. I promise, though I reserve the right to continue being annoyingly well-informed about my condition. I would expect nothing less, she replied, smiling through unshed tears. He drew her close, his arms encircling her waist, just as they had that first day on the staircase. You know, when I caught you on those stairs, I never imagined we'd end up here. No? She wound her arms around his neck. What did you imagine? A professional collaboration. Funding your research. Perhaps becoming friendly colleagues. His eyes crinkled at the corners. I certainly didn't plan on falling in love with my brilliant cardiac specialist. Love? The word hung between them, spoken aloud for the first time despite months of growing closeness. Undeniably, he confirmed, his voice dropping to that intimate register that never failed to send shivers down her spine. Irrevocably. Perhaps even against my better judgment, Dr. Chen. Well, she replied, rising on tiptoes to bring her lips closer to his. As your doctor, I should inform you that your judgment appears to be functioning perfectly. Their kiss deepened under the moonlight, the sound of waves below creating a rhythm like a heartbeat, strong, steady, persistent against all odds. Later that night, lying beside Ethan in what would now be their bed, Olivia traced the outline of his chest, where, beneath skin and bone, his compromised heart continued its vital work. In 6 months, it might be among the first to receive the therapy they were developing. In a year, it might be stronger, healthier, more resilient. But even if the worst happened, if their research hit obstacles, if his condition progressed faster than they could develop treatments, Olivia knew with sudden clarity that she wouldn't regret a moment of this unexpected journey. From that chance meeting on the staircase to this moment of quiet intimacy, every step had led them here, to a connection that transcended professional boundaries and medical prognoses. "What are you thinking?" Ethan murmured sleepily, his hand covering hers where it rested on his chest. "I'm thinking about falls," she replied honestly, "and about being caught." He smiled without opening his eyes. "Best fall I ever caught. Best fall I ever took," she whispered back, settling against him as sleep began to claim them both. Outside, the ocean continued its eternal rhythm against the cliffs, a reminder that some forces, like gravity, like love, like hope, were powerful enough to reshape even the most solid foundations. And sometimes, the most important moments in life came not from careful planning, but from unexpected falls and the hands that reached out to catch us. What did you think of the story? Share your opinion in the comments. Rate this story from 0 to 10. What was your score? Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell to follow all our stories and have fun.